Hank Green, but today I'm here to talk to you about copyright. I know. Super exciting. Please don't leave. I promise it's important. There's several things that fall under copyright, but before we get to that, let's talk about copyright itself. Copyright is essentially this idea that you have legal access to anything you create. Like actually anything. As long as you've got a physical concept of it, it has a copyright. You've probably heard of a singer or songwriter writing their first hit single or whatever on a napkin before, and that has a copyright. For example, this is Frank. I created Frank and his friends all within the last couple of years. When I made Frank 4 or 5 years ago, I gained the copyright over him. Essentially, if I were to make books of Frank, nobody else could. If they did, I could take them to court. Anyway, if they tried while I still had the copyright, they could be in more trouble than Colleen Ballinger. She's probably losing a lot of money right now. And you're looking at Frank and thinking, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. I must use him in something. How long till this copyright nonsense expires? And joke's on you, because you'll never get the chance. Maybe your children or grandchildren, but you can keep your grubby paws off of Frank. My copyright over Frank will last my entire life and another 75 years after that. So unless you're watching this really far past 2023, he's mine. Back off. But, if I decided that Frank is a gift to the world and he must be freely accessed, I could do one of two things. One of which is I could put him in the public domain, which just means that anyone could use him for anything and in any way they want. That's not happening though, so buzz off. But if I decided money isn't important, you would be able to use Frank freely. Alternatively, if I believe Frank should be a gift to the world, but I don't really want to release him into the wild that is the public domain, I could use something called Creative Commons. Creative Commons are licenses that grant the public the ability to use creative work, but still under copyright law. There's 4 main kinds of Creative Commons: attribution, non-commercial, non-derivative, and share alike. That's a lot, so stay with me. With an attribution Creative Commons license, if you wanted to use Frank in something, you'd have to properly credit or attribute it to me. A non-commercial license would mean that you can't use Frank for monetary gain, so you couldn't go out and be the 9 millionth New York Times bestseller using Frank. Sorry. Non-derivative means that if you were to use Frank in your work, you wouldn't be allowed to change anything about Frank before sharing. The last Creative Commons license is share alike. If Frank's image has one of these, then that means any adaptation of Frank has to be licensed under the same license, or a compatible one. But, on the other hand, maybe you don't care about all the limitations I set with Frank. Maybe you're like, literally who cares? I'm gonna use Frank anyway. But you want to avoid lawsuits, right? The copyright lawsuits can be unbearably expensive. It might not be worth it. But now you can with fair use. I'm not doing that voice again. Fair use is this concept that allows you to use copyrighted work without paying for the license or huge court fines. Not under any circumstance, though. There are certain things the work would have to be in order for it to be considered fair use, such as comment, criticism, teaching, parodies, research, and a few more. The best thing? If you were to say, make a parody of Frank, I couldn't do anything. Well, maybe. See, the original creator doesn't get to decide if something's fair use. A judge has to. Assuming a judge goes and says that what you did is protected under fair use, that would be protected for as long as copyright is, your lifespan plus 75 years. But again, it's all up to a judge's discretion, so tread lightly. But Frank is mine, so back off.